Hey, gang, welcome to another episode of the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Eggert. Raised in a rural community, our guest today is the founder and CEO of All-in-One Accounting. Heidi and her team of warriors have taken hundreds of clients from financial chaos to clarity and beyond. We're going to dig into all that and more with my guest today, Heide Olson. Heidi, how are you?
Fantastic, Aaron. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, for sure. I'm super pumped to have you on. How are you doing this fine morning? It is in May, so this is gonna. People are listening to this in a future state. So, how are you doing today?
Just absolutely fabulous. It's a sunny day. It's a great day. We have an all-company meeting today, so I'm very excited about that. And things are going really well here.
Yeah, awesome. Good. I love hearing that. So we're going to dig right in. I alluded to the fact at the beginning that you were raised in a rural community. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing, and I got to believe that there's some work ethic type things that are based in there. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and kind of how that shaped you to who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say in some ways I had a very traditional upbringing in a very small rural town in southwestern Minnesota. I grew up in Granite Falls, which is 2.5 hours straight west of the metro. And 3,200 people was my hometown, and very traditional in some ways in that I played all three sports. Growing up, I was in band and choir and very involved, had lots of friends. And so that was very typical. But in an untypical way, my mom was the youngest of 9 kids. And so she worked nights and was not around a ton. And so because she was the youngest of 9 and all of her siblings lived in town, I kind of was raised by a village, I would say. Mm-hmm. So I had aunts and uncles, and all of them were basically entrepreneurs. So I had a couple of aunts and uncles that were farmers. I had an uncle who was a teacher and the football coach. I had an uncle who owned the convenience store in town. I had an uncle who owned a towing company. I had an uncle who owned a convenience store, and an uncle who owned a junk store in town. So an aunt who owned the supper club in town. So like I had all these aunts and uncles and like 35 cousins in town. And gosh. So basically it was related to like half the town. So right. I grew up, just this incredible upbringing, like kind of going from house to house, all these aunts and uncles, all these cousins, all this love. My mom is probably like the biggest family person you'll ever meet. Like family was everything to her. And so I just learned all this work ethic, all about family and commitment and relationship, had this amazing upbringing, just really had a great upbringing. I love Granite Falls, the kilowatts all the way. Just really had a great time, great upbringing, made great relationships, great friendships growing up in Granite Falls.
Did you say the kilowatts?
The kilowatts.
What is that? Is that the mascot?
Yes, that was our mascot.
What does the kilowatt look like, the mascot?
Like a lightning guy with he was great.
That's great. You talked about when you were rattling off all these aunts and uncles and stuff. In what was fascinating to me is you're like, aunt and uncle owns, aunt and uncle owns, aunt and uncle owns. So did you come from a family of entrepreneurs?
Yep, all of them.
Yeah, really. So it's in your blood.
Yeah. So like one of my first jobs was walking beans for my uncle. And I'm not sure if you know what that is, but back, in the old days when I was growing up, you'd walk in the bean fields and pull the weeds out. So that was like my first job, and it was awfully hard work.
Right. That's anybody who knows farming knows that that's probably going to be pre-sprayer, right? Like they weren't out there spraying a bunch of chemicals on it, which obviously is going to be a little healthier, right?
Yeah. So you'd get up at 5 a.m. and you'd have layers and layers of clothes on because it was super cold out. And then as the day would go on and the sun would come out, you'd start stripping off the layers. And when you get home, you're covered in, crusted on mud, and your mom would spray you off with a hose so you could come in the house and take a shower. Yeah.
Oh, that's so great.
It was hard work. And I remember like $2 an hour was the wage, and you get your, $200 for the summer is what you'd make. And then
Oh
you
my
get to go
gosh.
buy school clothes. Like that's what the deal was.
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
anybody who grew up in a farm community knows that story, right? And it may not be pulling weeds in bean fields, but it might be something related to some kind of hard work. And anybody I've talked to that was born in a farm community has got a next level work ethic. So I just think farmers. Obviously, I live in a farm community, so I just think farmers are like the most epic business people because they've got to do the work and run the work and run the farm, and it's such an interesting way of approaching a business. If more people ran their businesses like farmers, I think they might be a little bit more successful.
Oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
then on the flip side, so my parents got divorced when I was very young. My dad started a sheet metal business in Colorado, and so he's a huge entrepreneur. And so he started this business from nothing, and now it's this gigantic business. And then he also does missions work all over the world. So he is also like my personal hero because he's
Mm,
like this amazing businessman and also this philanthropic missionary guy that does this incredible work all over the world. And so he's also my hero. So I have both parents are like completely my heroes for different
yeah.
reasons. But I've learned this incredible work ethic and how to really change the world through being entrepreneurs. And so that's where I really got this love of small business and entrepreneurs. And so, when I started my CPA career, I really saw that entrepreneurs needed some help in these areas, really based on this exposure that I had, from being a kid around my aunts
Yeah.
and uncles and my parents and this hard work ethic of all these entrepreneurs that I saw really from growing up in Granite Falls and seeing my parents
Yeah.
really out there doing these things, and my aunts and uncles, the towing companies and the restaurants and the farmers and in all of this, it's kind of in my blood.
Yeah, for sure it is. You even were like the Doogie Howser of CPAs because you went into you were telling me when we were doing our prep call, and this is something I never would have guessed. You were one of the first people in your town, as a part of the PSEO program to go to the U of M and be a part of that PSEO program. That's crazy to me. At 16?
Yeah, yeah. So Rudy Perpich, back when he was governor, and started the PSEO program, and my friend Jennifer Alstead and I were part of the first full-time enrollment group at the University of Minnesota. They had played around with some like part-time um, uh, high school students taking college courses, but we were the first full-time students admitted to the University of Minnesota. So yeah, it was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
A little scary, but we did it, and I'm glad we did. It was kind of a big leap to go from small Granite Falls, Minnesota, where you knew everybody. I mean, think of that environment, being raised by this
Right.
village of 35 cousins and 9 aunts and uncles, and this, security blanket of knowing everybody, to going to the University of Minnesota and just, wow, it was quite a change for me.
Yeah.
To go to,
No kidding.
a hall of a class of 500 people in this lecture hall, which is, almost as big as my hometown. But we adapted and we did well. My friend Jennifer Alstead ended up doing very well. She ended up being student body president of the University of Minnesota.
Wow.
And she was actually part of my inspiration for starting a business, because and when she graduated from the University of Minnesota, started her own business, which was just such an inspiration to me. She's such an established and such an inspiration. She's an amazing woman.
Yeah, you were destined to be a business owner with all these people cheering you on from all different aspects. It's crazy. And I think going from it's intimidating enough at 18 or almost 19 going into college. I got to imagine 16, just those couple years of maturity that you're missing out on, like that had to be something that was just an eye-opening experience.
Yeah. And it was funny because my parents said the only way that I could go was if I lived with my great aunt and uncle. So I did, because that was like the deal. Like, you can go, but you have to live with Lola and Sid. And they were awesome. They were just spectacular.
Yeah.
It was a great experience, but that was kind of the compromise that I made, was I didn't live on campus and I lived with them, but it was wonderful. So
Where did Lola and Sid live?
on Milwaukee Avenue in Minneapolis, which was, fabulous. And they were fantastic to me and gave me lots of love and guidance and supported me. So it was great.
I love it. And then when you were done, you graduated high school, you then transferred to St. Thomas and you finished out your accounting degree there. Why did you choose accounting?
It was interesting. I always thought I'd be a lawyer because I'm pretty good at arguing, I think. And making my point
Yeah.
getting my way probably.
Yeah.
But I've always been really good with numbers. So I think because I enjoy numbers and I've always been really good at them. And I had a great math teacher in high school, Mr. Ford, who I really enjoyed. I just landed there and ended up getting an accounting degree because it just came very natural to me. And probably also because I love business. I thought it would be a really good platform for business. I figured if I understood the finance side, it probably would lend me to going into business at some point, honestly.
Yeah. Was your first gig then out of college at a firm, or did you do anything else?
No, I went right into, I had an internship at Sima Flatimus Ornstein, and that was my first full-time job after I graduated. Yeah.
Nice. And where were they located?
On the Fauché Tower,
Yeah.
downtown Minneapolis. And it was funny because when I first started working there, it was so interesting because the whole building would sway, and I always thought that was
Weird.
so freaky to me. It would just move. You'd be like sitting at your desk, and you're like, this thing just sways. And quite an experience from a small town farm girl to be in this skyscraper in downtown Minneapolis. And of course, my parents thought that was the coolest thing ever, that I'm working in a skyscraper downtown Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Are you Heidi in the Fauché Tower? Wow,
Right. Are you afraid of heights at all?
I'm not, but
Okay,
it still was a little freaky.
Yeah, I would not be good in that environment. I hate heights. That's not my jam. So how long did you stay at that firm?
Just a couple years.
Yeah, cut your teeth in there, and then where did you jump to from that firm?
Then I landed at a small firm in South Minneapolis that really was focused on small businesses and nonprofits, Romer and Company. And I worked there for a lot of years, and I had a great boss, Durf. He always said his name was supposed to be Fred, but he came out backwards. And I love that story. That's my kind of guy.
That's awesome.
And I just learned so much from him, just how to treat people and how to work with people. And it just grew my love for a small business and nonprofit even more, because that was really their clientele and who they catered to. But it really just highlighted for me just how much small businesses and nonprofits struggled to get their accounting done in a smart way. And it just really, I could feel this burning inside of me to really start something to solve these problems every day that grew, that passed. And I started to kind of talk to my husband about this. Hey, maybe I should do this. And he's not much of a risk taker, and I'm a risk taker in the family. So it was this interesting little dance we were doing for a few years of, hey, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should start a business.
So when did you get that itch, and so you got that itch, when did you actually make that itch happen? So when did your switch flip and decide, all right, I'm jumping in feet first?
Well, it was really interesting timing. I decided to make that flip when I was about 7 months pregnant with my first baby. And my husband's always like, terrible timing, Heidi. Like, what were you thinking?
Oh my gosh. What was that world like? Especially if your husband is risk adverse.
Oh, he's totally risk adverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, how are we going to make our mortgage? I'm like, I'm not sure. Like, but we got to do this. We got to do this.
Yeah. Just say it with a smile, right?
Yeah. Right.
Right. All right. So what was your first foray into entrepreneurship then?
Well, my first foray is actually I had a partner. So Stephanie Lytle Welch and I started Owl Financial, and it was OWLL, which was the combination of our last names. Lidstrom, Olson, Lytle Welch. That's how we got Owl. So we started, and originally we were just going to do CFO services. We thought we'll just help people with their strategy, right? Their high level strategy. But like in a hot second, we realized that wasn't enough, because people needed the controller and the bookkeeping support. They needed it all, which clearly is what I was seeing at Romer and Company, right? Like we're struggling with their day-to-day accounting. They couldn't get it done themselves. They didn't know who to hire. And they certainly, they were stressed out about it. They couldn't focus on their passion because they were always so worried about, like, where am I at? Like, I can't get my payroll done. I can't get my accounts reconciled. Like, I have no idea what's going on in my business. So we quickly added those layers in, and it went really well. We were able to establish a bunch of clients right away. We were able to grow the business, and it went really well for a couple of years. And then dun, like in a lot of partnerships, something happens and one of the partners says, I don't want to do this anymore. And that's actually what happened to us.
Yeah.
It was, again, very interesting timing. I don't know why in my life, everything around in my life has something to do with the pregnancy, but I found out I was pregnant with my second baby. And the day after that, Stephanie told me, I don't want to be partners with you anymore. So I was like, okay,
Oh
now
my
what?
gosh. Yeah, no kidding, right? Like, so that was a curveball that was thrown at you. You didn't have, this was not, you were not prepared for that one, huh?
No. And so how we had approached the business is that I was delivering work. So I was
Mhm.
out working with clients, 40 or 50 hours a week, developing systems. I was doing all the internal accounting, all the like basically operations and delivery. And Stephanie was doing marketing and sales.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that was perfect because I don't know anything about marketing and sales, and I didn't want to know, or didn't care to know, or didn't have any training or background or any comfort around any of that stuff. But I love working with clients, and I like all the internal operational stuff. That's my jam.
Yeah, yeah.
So when she said she didn't want to be partners anymore, and I had just found out I was pregnant with my second baby, and I had a 2-year-old at home, I thought, well, now what? And after I cried for a couple days and called both my parents and was like, no, what do I do?
Right, right. Yeah,
It's interesting when you talk to other entrepreneurs, when you call them and tell them something like that, they're like, it's going to be fine. Like,
right.
because they've all been through it. Right. So they're like,
Yep, yep.
it's okay. You're going to be okay. But in that moment, you're like, I'm dying.
Right.
What
And
am I?
you're living it, right? Like I get it. Like there's a lot of, and there's emotions. It's kind of like when you're a business partner, it's marriage, right? Like it's your work. You guys were work wives. And so that's a lot of emotional things that are happening and things like that. So, as entrepreneurs, we can all kind of like laugh it off and be like, you're going to be fine. But I get it that there's that emotional aspect to all that stuff.
I think that, it was super interesting because, again, back to timing, is I was actually in a peer group called Inner Circle at that time.
Hmm.
And the day after Stephanie told me that she didn't want to be partners, I was doing what was called the Vision Quest, which is like your deep dive in
Yeah.
Coalition 9.
Yeah.
And so I went to my leader, his name is Jeff Redmond, and said, well, here's what I was going to say, but guess what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stephanie said she didn't want to be partners anymore. And he said, well, why don't you go through your presentation? Then why don't you say at the end, this is what the new development is. So I did that. And it was great because everyone at the table's like, well, you know what? This is awful in the moment, but we've all been through this. And in 3 months, you're going to say this is the best thing that ever happened to you. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is what I can say. Everyone needs to be in an awesome peer group.
Right. I 100%, like, it doesn't matter which one it is. Obviously we would
Yeah.
love for them to be a part of Coalition 9, but really I am a believer that you got to have you got to have three components. You got to have, I'll go on a tangent here for a second. You got to have a coach, a one-on-one coach, and then you got to have somebody like an association group. So something related to your industry. And then you've got to get a peer group of people that are not in your industry so they can poke all the holes and all the stuff that your coach and your association group preconceived. So it does work as like kind of the trifecta.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were right. Like when the crying was
Sweet.
over and I realized that like good work sold, because honestly, my biggest fear was selling. Like, I didn't know how to sell. Like, I'm like, I don't know how to sell. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So when the crying was over and I went back to work and realized like good work will sell, and I just have to talk to people about my passion and about doing good work, I'm going to be fine. It worked out. It was fine.
And then, so that was the birth of All-in-One Accounting.
It
And
was.
probably a second child.
And a second child.
Right.
Kate. Yes.
Right. No pun intended, but totally intended. So great. So you started All-in-One Accounting and you figured out real fast that you are a salesperson.
I figured out real fast that yes, I am.
And I'll tell you, I've gotten to know you really well over the last year and a half or so, and you are a very good salesperson. And I'm not even going to say like salesperson. It's just you're just a really good partner for clients because of the fact that you listen so good. And really, at the end of the day, that's really what you need to do. And don't worry about being the stereotypical salesperson. That's not really what you want for a partner.
Well, thank you, Aaron.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So, how long you've been around? How long has All-in-One Accounting been around?
Well, 2005.
Okay.
Be officially All-in-One Accounting, and then 2 years before that would have been OWL. So, however you want to,
Yeah. So
18 years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And so in that trajectory, what has been like one thing that you had a big aha moment in that growth of 18 years and I'm going to talk only of all-in-one accounting. So what has been one thing where you're just like, holy shit, like that I was not prepared for, or holy shit, like this is a big deal and this is what I need to double down on?
It's all, I mean, I can't say it enough. It's all about the people. It's all about the who.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about having the right people. I mean, I can say Becky Lewis, I can say Jennifer LaPlante, I can say Jody Kelly, I can say Crystal Holmes, I can say Lisa Artizenzi. I can say it's all about the people.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
about having the right people on the team.
And that's in your business. I got to believe that that's what you do, right? You're
Yeah.
selling people,
Yeah.
right? And talent, I got to believe, is not the easiest to get your hands on.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
So what has been in now with going through a pandemic and all, I got to believe your business didn't take too bad of a hit just because of the work that you do for all different types of clients, and you can spread yourself into so many different markets. What has been some of the things that you've learned in the last year in growing all-in-one accounting that you need to evolve and double down on into the future?
I think okay, 4 things. Be obsessive about our culture. Obsessive.
Mm.
You can never take your eye off it, and you have to double down on being obsessive, like constantly work on your culture and your people, connecting to them, working on them, making sure that they know how much you love them all the time, all the time. Obsessive about training your people, training them again, retraining them, giving them more, because if you don't train them and care about them, someone else will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Decisive people moves. You and I just talked about this the other day.
We did actually. Yeah. That's well said. Yes.
Decisive people moves.
Yep.
And everyone celebrates sales.
Yes. I
Ring
love
the
that.
bell. Ring the bell, baby. Ring it.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing that you do really well. And we talked about this in one of our Coalition 9 groups, and you told me this one-on-one, is that you do this video that you send out to your team. And to me, for CEOs, that I don't care if you're working in a environment where everyone's in the office, or if you're working in a remote environment or hybrid or whatever, that personal touch that you do of creating these videos is, to me, is just such a interesting concept, and not enough people do something like that. Talk a little bit about that and how it's being received.
Yeah. So I do weekly most of the time. I'll make that little caveat there, where I announce new clients. I announce clients that we've gotten to clarity, and that's when we onboard them. And that's the really hard work that the team does to get them to clarity. So that's heavy lifting, and we really want to celebrate that. I talk about new team members that are coming on board, and I talk about like anything else that's important that I want to highlight. And it's just a way to connect, because people aren't in the office all the time, or I don't always get to see people. And so it's just this little 30 seconds to 2 minutes, depending on how much I have to say. And it just goes out and people look at it or they don't. And usually it gets, 20 to 30 views. Nice. So about half the team maybe is looking at it. And and people like it, because I think they get sick of reading emails, and it's just, they'd rather see a face and just listen, as they're working or driving or whatever they're up to. So
yeah, for sure. There's 2 things I want to ask you before we get into our crazy 9 questions. One is, I opened and I used the term warriors. So one, I just want to address the fact that you do use the term warriors, and you do have a hell of a team there. And then, and related to that, what does that mean when you say taking clients from financial chaos to clarity? Explain to me a little bit. So that to me is kind of all encompassing to what you do. What does that mean? And what is that value proposition?
So when a prospect calls me, they are in some state of chaos, whether it's a little chaos, like they're a little bit behind, or maybe they've had a turnover, or they're just growing, or they are in complete chaos. Like their financials are 10 years behind and they are completely out of control. Like it's 1,000 hours of work to get them cleaned up, or somewhere in between. So their financial accounting is in chaos at some level. We are the SWAT team to come in and get you cleaned up. We have a proven process around this. And this team are experts at that. And actually, that's what I love. When I used to actually be out in the field, that was my favorite thing to do. Like, give me the biggest mess that you can throw at me. Like, some of us, that's just kind of how our brains work. And we can just, we're experts and we're ninjas at doing that stuff. Like, we will get you to clarity, and then we'll develop a system so that that never happens again to you. And we'll make sure that you have the right team to ensure that that is what happens moving forward. And then how do you use that data? So taking you from that financial chaos to business clarity, and then how do you use that to catapult your business to the and beyond? That's what this team does. And that's why we consider ourselves warriors, because it kind of feels like you're at battle when you're doing that work, because it's really hard work. And it's kind of stressful because we're digging in and we're fixing problems that have been around for a long time, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable and it's a lot of work for us and for the clients.
Yeah. Warriors. I love it.
Yeah.
And then my last question before we get into the fun stuff is well, this is actually fun too. Tell me a little bit about the future of all-in-one accounting. What are you looking at in the next 3 to 5 years?
You know, Aaron, I can honestly say that I have never been more excited about this business ever.
Sweet.
Like,
Sweet.
we have made some key hires around here, and we've been doing traction. This is our 11th year. The plan that we have for the next 10 years is so rock solid. We've got the right people. We've got the right process. We've solved our talent challenge. And the market is ready for this solution. And it's like the stars have aligned, and it's going to go. Like, I feel it in my gut, Aaron. Like, we're going. So giddy up.
It's all about the people though, right? It's your team, and you've built this awesome team that can help. At the end of the day, you could just be the visionary and ride the backs of the team, and you're just there to support them.
Well, when you hire people that are smarter than you, look how it all goes.
Yeah. Amen, sister. I 100% agree with that. Well, I think the world is in for a big treat to see all the things that all-in-one accounting is going to be doing in the future. And I don't know, who knows, maybe national, some national exposure could maybe be in the mix. And I'd love to see that. And
Aaron, I have to say, the reason that I'm so motivated is because I really, really care about and love small businesses and nonprofits and entrepreneurs. And I really want to impact their lives. That's why I get out of bed in the morning. Like, that's my motivation.
Well, it goes all the way. Yeah. It goes all the way back to when you started in this, in business. Right. And so that doesn't go away. Passion doesn't go away.
I think about my uncle and his towing business. I think about my aunts and uncles on their farms. I think about my aunt and uncle who own the supper club. I mean, those are the people, those are the people that I think about, that I want to bring clarity and make their lives better and help them employ more people in those people's lives. That honestly, that's what motivates me.
Yeah. Yeah. Last thing before we jump into 9 questions is that I think it's really cool how you've really adopted EOS traction. And anybody who's listened to this podcast, we've had other guests that have talked about and alluded to EOS traction, but you take it to like the next level. Like, you are not a paid endorser of EOS and traction, but yet you buy a ton of books and you send them out to friends, and you send them out to people that want to learn more about it. And so to me, I think that you're so passionate about it, but yet the actual system you've adopted and has evolved your business. And the reason you're passionate about it is because of how much of an impact it's had on you and your team. And I just think that that's really admirable and really great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe it. And I think it can positively impact their businesses. And so that's why I share the good news.
Yeah.
Because again, I want them to have more peace of mind, have more happiness, impact more lives, do better, like move forward positively, not be miserable, like, be able to focus on their passion.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, we're going to share your information here at the end, and then where people can find you. But if you want to connect with Heidi on EOS traction, learn more about this, and then if your business is in financial chaos, you need to reach out to Heidi. Right. All right. 9 questions. Will you confirm that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I have no idea what you're going to ask me.
All right, good. I ask every guest that because I just want to make sure people can look you in the eye when they say it. All right. 1 is, what was your first concert?
Chicago at the State Fairgrounds.
At the State Fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it a good show?
It was great. I went with my cousin Lisa. It was awesome. I was like 15.
Have you ever seen Chicago since?
No,
No? All right. Are you a huge Chicago fan to this day?
no, not as much as I used to be.
All
I
right.
can say that's probably like back burner now.
Yeah. All right. At least you're honest. All right. Close your eyes.
Okay.
What is your favorite sound? You can open your eyes now.
Favorite sound? The ocean.
Like waves crashing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. How often do you go to the ocean?
Not enough.
Every time I talk to you, you're either going to Denver or Arizona.
I know, right?
Yeah, there's no ocean in Denver or Arizona.
My family needs to be by the ocean so I can go see them there.
Yeah, for sure. You got to figure that out. All right. What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Probably the Love Boat.
Oh, that was great, wasn't it?
Love the
Captain
Love Boat.
Stubing.
Yes.
I know. I was actually I was flipping through the channels the other day, and you know, we've got Hulu and whatever, and it was on. I was like, holy smokes, I haven't seen this in forever. That was a great show.
The Love Boat.
Yeah, but and a great theme song too. All right, I love it. And they had some great guests that would come on to that show.
Oh
And
yeah.
it
How
was
did
like,
they get those?
I don't know. Well, it's Hollywood. Anything can happen in Hollywood. Magic of Hollywood. All right.
No one will ever go on a cruise again. So
not like that. They won't. No, I'm definitely not going on a cruise that's called the Love Boat. That'd be weird. All right. Anyway, I digress. What are 3 words that describe you?
passionate, energetic, and driven.
I love it. All coincide with each other. And after people have listened to this for a while, they probably would have guessed that. So well said. What is one quality in a person that really impresses you?
Honesty.
Honesty. Yeah. Nice. Good. I would agree with that. That's great. Great word. What is one thing most people would not know about you?
I'm a grandma.
Really? I don't think, did I know that? I think I knew that. How did that? Yeah. Like that. Wow. You just put me speechless.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I did not know that.
Yeah.
And I never would have guessed by looking at you. Those of you that are watching a video. Congratulations on that. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Oh, wow. You know what? I think probably one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got was really just about how you spend your time. And okay, here's what I say. I remember when I first started my business, and I was feeling kind of bad about like billing a reasonable rate for what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I think it was Stephanie said, listen, you're away from your kids. So think about it this way. You need to bill your time, because for every minute that you're away from your kids, you should be billing your time. So it's like, your time is valuable. So make sure that you're billing for your time. So it's like, because when you first start your business, I think you're like almost apologizing, right?
Right.
For billing. So don't apologize.
Yeah.
Your time is valuable. Bill for your time. So it didn't take me long to get over that.
Yeah. And bill for value, right? I agree with that. I think there's a key word in there that I want to make sure and highlight is the word value. And you can't put a price tag on value because it's all relative based on who you're talking with. Yeah.
And then I would follow that up by saying that the other key piece of advice that I got that now I give to a lot of people is outsource everything that you can so that you have time to do the things that you love. Right. So in my business and my personal life, I do that all the time now. Like, because when you're young and you've got time and energy, you do all the things at home that yourself. But as I've gotten busier at work, I outsource as much at home as I can, not because I don't mind cleaning or doing any of that stuff myself, but now I just don't have time. Yep. So, and I don't feel bad about it, because if I can work more now, I do that instead of clean or do the lawn or those things, because it's just there's only so much time in the day. So what do you want to spend your time doing?
Yep. Financial resources are renewable. Time is non-renewable.
Right.
Right. In one word, explain the current state of your email inbox.
Too full. Oh, one word. Full.
All right. I think we got that. Give me a general number of how many emails you have in your inbox. You don't have to look, but just gut check it. 200. Oh, that's a lot. Yeah. All right. All right. Last question. You've done great. What keeps you driven?
Bringing peace of mind to small businesses and nonprofits and
Nice.
impacting their lives. I mean, Aaron, I love people.
Yeah.
And especially entrepreneurs. So if I can make their lives better, that fills me up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great to have a business that helps other businesses.
So can I tell you a little story?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So I had to reach out to a client last night and have a somewhat difficult conversation about some interactions and where they're at. And he said to me, you know what? This is what I love about All-in-One Accounting. Even through tough conversations, you guys have so much integrity and you care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's one of the best compliments you could ever receive.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah. And he wants to work through it and work through it with us, even though it's a hard situation, because it's the chaos to clarity. And again, what did I say? It's stressful and it's hard.
Yeah.
And we'll get there.
I hear you.
But there's integrity and we care.
Yeah. Great. That's great. And that's a good real life, because it happened yesterday.
Yeah. It happened last night.
Yeah. That's awesome. Heidi, where can people find you?
allinOneaccounting.com or Heidi at allinOneaccounting.com or 651-289-7661.
I love it. You threw your phone number on there. And then LinkedIn, you guys are you have a pretty good, you yourself and All-in-One Accounting has a pretty good LinkedIn presence.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. We're going to put all your contact information in the show notes, so people can go right there and just click and shoot you an email or give you a call. And then also I'll put your LinkedIn profile on there, and also All-in-One Accounting LinkedIn profile on there. And Heidi, I cannot thank you enough. You have a great story. I love anybody that comes from a rural background and takes that hard work ethic and turns it into something really, really positive to help other people. And you've clearly done that. Kudos to you.
Well, Aaron, I am absolutely loving Coalition 9. I appreciate you so much. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, you're fantastic. Thank you for being a member. So on behalf of Heide Olson, this has been the Power of 9 podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time. Cheers.